Digital effects are everywhere in modern cinema. They can be found in the biggest of blockbusters to the most surprising of indie films. But what happens when a big film refuses to use digital effects and does a scene without the help of CGI? Well, more often than not, the final shot is spectacular. But before we get this show on the road, be sure to hit the subscribe button. That way, you'll get more awesome videos like this every day, straight on your homepage. Can you guess the breathtaking blockbuster film based off of these emojis? Stay tuned for the answer. The Mummy 2017. Tom Cruise just can't stop. We already know how crazy the stunt work is on his Mission Impossible films, but more on that later. But what happens when he isn't playing international super spy Ethan Hunt? Well, he's being chased by the undead in the 2017 reboot of The Mummy. The film has plenty of digital effects in it, but there was one amazing sequence in it that definitely was a spectacle to behold, especially when one considers the use of digital effects was absent for this scene. During the film, Cruise's character Nick is bringing back the recovered sarcophagus in a military airplane when the curse of the mummy begins to take hold and a flock of possessed birds attack the plane, causing it to make a rapid descent. Due to the elevation and speed of the plane, the characters entered a zero-G scenario. Only, it wasn't just the characters. The effect was entirely practical, causing Cruise and his co-star Annabelle Wallis to float around the set without any gravity. It was enough to make many of the members of the crew feel sick. The effect is similar to what Christopher Nolan used in Inception, only this time, the set is mimicking an airplane minutes before a crash. Which film did the zero-gravity scene better, Mummy or Inception? Let us know in the comments. Mad Max Fury Road. Witness this. Mad Max Fury Road was a surprise smash hit back in 2015. The film combined apocalyptic car mayhem with a poignant story of defiance. The film would go on to win 6 of its 10 nominations at the Oscars, and is widely regarded as one of the best action films in modern times. To make it even more impressive, most of the action was done practically while also being part of a mobile set, forever driving through the desert without a designated base for HQ. The action in Fury Road is some of the best ever put to film. Part of what makes it so intense is the film utilized so many practical effects. Sure, the film used digital effects, but ever so sparingly. Quite often, they would blend 2 shots together to create one seamless shot in order to ensure the safety of everyone involved on set. But when it came down to business, George Miller and his crew gave it their all. Where most of the films on this list had a scene or two without digital effects, a lot of Fury Road was filmed for real, resulting in some amazing crashes and explosions caught on camera. One amazing moment came with the help of Cirque du Soleil, with polecats swinging from side to side on a moving vehicle. How cool is that? The Dark Knight. If modern cinema were to have an ambassador for practical effects, it would most certainly have Christopher Nolan in the front running for such a position. The talented director has worked tirelessly to deliver some of the best in-camera action in modern cinema. One of the first moments audiences witnessed that Nolan's action was truly a cut above all the rest was during a harrowing chase sequence in the classic film The Dark Knight. A spectacle to have been witnessed in IMAX, Batman engaged in a ruthless battle against the Joker, while the Gotham City Police Department escorted Harvey Dent from the police station to prison. Ensnared by the bait, Joker and his laughter gang launched everything at Dent's security detail, from a garbage truck to an RPG. Batman had a trick up his sleeve though, or rather, a gadget on his belt. Ended up wrapping a cable around Joker's truck, ultimately flipping the 18-wheeler over itself. Amazingly, this was all done without the help of any digital effects. Nolan and his team opted to actually flip a truck over itself instead of simply doing it in digital effects, with a stuntman in the driver's seat. The result? One of the best shots in the whole entire film. SKYFALL. The name's Bond, James Bond. But you already knew that, didn't you? Of course you did. The Bond films have always had some pretty intense and fun action scenes, especially for their time. While Sean Connery's punches may look laughable by today's standards, they were dealing out the pain back in the day. Flash forward to the age of Daniel Craig, and the action scenes have become exponentially more bonkers. One such moment came from the 3rd Craig film in the franchise, Skyfall. At the start of most Bond films, there's a breakneck action scene to kick things off. Skyfall is no exception to this, offering a chase scene and an action set piece on a train, all within minutes of each other. With the help of some digital effects, the filmmakers could have likely saved themselves some time and coordination, but who wants that? Skyfall's crew decided a real train and an excavator were needed for maximum mayhem. While the train was being torn to shreds, Craig's double was weaving in and out of danger for some of the more brutal moments. However, Daniel did do a lot of the stunt work himself, ensuring no digital effects were hiding his performance. Thor: The Dark World. Let's just get it out of the way. The Marvel movies use a lot of digital effects. There's no denying that the MCU and many other superhero films are dependent on a lot of digital effects in order to deliver some of their action scenes. Could they use practical effects in some cases? Possibly, but the end result is still quite stunning overall. Yet, despite all of the CGI found in those movies, there was one scene in Phase 2 that actually didn't use any digital effects that you probably didn't even know about. Thor: The Dark World probably isn't a fan favorite, but it does get some recognition from us for creating an awesome visual effect in camera. Early on in the film, Jane, Darcy, and Ian are exploring an anomaly and eventually end up discovering wormholes and the ether. One of the telltale signs something was amiss was the floating truck. One gentle push would send this giant cement mixer into a spin. Amazingly, this was created without any digital effects. Well, save for removing the hydraulic arm, which spun the giant truck around like a pig over a campfire. That aside, there was actually a giant truck spinning on set for everyone to marvel at. Interstellar. You'd think that a film set in the deep recesses of uncharted space would rely heavily on CGI. Under normal circumstances, you'd be right, but under the direction of Christopher Nolan, you best believe there's gonna be some scenes that just had to be made without the use of digital effects. There are a surprising amount of practical effects in this film, but there's one that definitely will surprise you, as it's the most surreal moment in the entire film. After entering the black hole, Cooper finds himself in the fifth dimension and literally transcended space and time. Well, here's something to put down on your resume next time. This scene may look out of this world, but it's in fact a giant 3-story set. Matthew McConaughey found himself attached by some wires and swung around the giant and trippy-looking set. The walls were made out of high-res laser print wall projections and helped give a feeling of being in space like we've never seen before. This could easily have been done with the help of some green screen technology, but Nolan is always adamant about getting it to look as real as possible. He argued this method was the best way to give us something truly out of this world. And boy was he right. Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. Before Tom Cruise fought the undead in the Mummy reboot, he was doing all sorts of crazy stunts for the Mission Impossible series. Much like the films themselves, the action scenes have gotten progressively better as they've gone along, opting to limit their use of digital trickery. Having Tom Cruise doing his own stunts also makes these scenes even more breathtaking. While Ghost Protocol saw Cruise climbing the Burj Khalifa, Rogue Nation decided to take it to the next level and put all their cards on the table. Climbing a building is one thing, but hanging off the side of an airplane during takeoff is quite another. Cruise did this without any green screens or digital planes. He was strapped to the side of the plane with only a safety harness and hung onto the plane for dear life as it took off into the sky. The amount of speed and wind hitting Cruise's body would definitely put most people off from doing this stunt. But as we know, Cruise is all for doing as much of the action himself and doing it for real. With Cruise returning to the Mission Impossible franchise in 2018, along with the Man of Steel himself, Henry Cavill, we can only assume that we'll get even more jaw-dropping scenes done without any digital effects. Fate of the Furious. When it comes to all-out cartoony action, the Fast and Furious franchise is definitely the king of that mountain. The series has shown no signs of stopping. In fact, they keep getting better as they go along. Fate of the Furious continued this trend, not only being an awesome movie, but having some insane stunts that didn't rely on CGI. Remember the scene in the movie where Charlize Theron's character Cypher decided to remotely activate all the cars in New York City? We do too. But the most insane part of that so-called zombie scene came when cars were raining down from the sky. We know what you're thinking. Surely that part was CGI. Turns out, it wasn't. The production crew actually dropped cars out of a building and onto the streets below. Imagine if you just happened to see that from your office window, you'd be seriously confused, and probably a little bit concerned. It's great that a series like Fast and Furious isn't putting the brakes on their stunts, opting to go big or go home. It's gonna be pretty hard to top dropping cars out of a building on the next go-around, but these are the same guys who dropped cars out of a plane, so we have faith that Fast 9 will be just as insane. Dunkirk. Christopher Nolan is hugely anti-green screen. He seems to be on a crusade to do as many of his action scenes without the help of digital trickery. We already covered Interstellar here, but what about his upcoming World War II epic Dunkirk? The film documents the Allies' harrowing escape from the French beach of Dunkirk during the early years of the war. The film is one of the year's most anticipated films, largely due to Nolan's commitment to delivering amazing and practical action, as well as his record on delivering amazing blockbuster films. In Dunkirk, Christopher Nolan promises to deliver some white-knuckle wartime action scenes. In order to ensure that the wartime scenes were both engaging and authentic, Nolan and his team decided to use real vintage planes from the era during the film. He could have easily used models or digital effects, but no. Nolan decided he wasn't going to be doing the film without the use of real planes. One of those planes he intentionally crashed in order to get the best shot, which set the production back a cool $5 million. We can't wait to see what this looks like on the big screen, especially in IMAX format. Spider-Man: Homecoming. Spider-Man: Homecoming is making massive impressions on fans around the world, whether it's for its colorful trailers, great casting, or behind-the-scenes photos of some of the stunt work. If you want to go in completely blind, you may want to turn away for this one. We're not sure what the context of the scene is on this one, but we can definitely say the stunt performers may be as crazy as Tom Cruise. You have to hand it to these men and women. Their work is easily replaceable with modern digital effects, yet they make sure that we, the audience, get the best scene ever. Tom Holland plays Spider-Man in Homecoming and does a lot of the stunts himself. He is a trained gymnast, but when it comes to this stunt, he had to let the professionals take over. Holland's double and another stunt performer can be seen hanging from a wire from the bottom of a helicopter in flight. We're not sure if this is how the filmmakers will be getting the shots of Spider-Man swinging around, or there's to be a scene involving a helicopter. Either way, it's definitely impressive and a testament to what professionals can do in place of CG effects. Thanks for watching, everybody! Which scenes were you surprised to learn had no digital effects? Do you prefer films that opt to do the action for real, or does it make no difference to you if it's digital or not? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more awesome videos from Screen Rant. And of course, the answer to our emoji question is...